Right, we should be live. I just went to grab a coffee quickly. The weather here is trash as always, so that's fun. But yes, I've got a mess of cables I need to deal with and some other stuff. But we'll leave that till after the stream. When one day I figure out the art of cable management. But I blame the fact that I only have 2 front USB ports. Anyways, how's everyone doing? What's the audio levels like? Are they any good? Yeah, they look fine, surprisingly. Maybe slightly quiet. Maybe. But yeah, there's a I don't know. There's not been a lot of news coverage over this, but there is a coup in Niger, which I only found about because a guy was making a YouTube video about it, which is nuts. So yeah, there was that. Yeah, a massive coup in Niger by the sounds of it. It sounds like a lot of the neighbouring countries are very nervous about the situation, but the only takes I've heard about it are the only kind of stories I've really heard about it are just takes that other countries' kind of leaders and generals have. You know, America's kind of input. You had Russia's input on this, and I'm like, why is no one covering what's going on in the ground? But there is a Guardian article I found which seems to cover a bit of it, but there's not been a lot of news about the fact that a country is having, you know, there is a coup in a country. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's surprising. You know, you think a coup in any country would be big news, but it is not. But other than that, there is not much going on. I think got like a load of news stories for the week, as you can see on the computer. But for now, I would have thought a coup in Niger would be the biggest story. Honestly, genuinely, you would think so. But no, a lot of stuff on the Tories immigration fail this week, which is pretty funny. I'll be honest with that stupid boat. You know, it is tragic what they're trying to do. But the fact that they're failing at it so badly is also hilarious because it's like you create this culture war. You've completely manufactured this whole thing, and now you're losing your own culture war. Like imagine setting up this whole thing, and and then failing in it. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, other than that, I don't know what more to say on. We'll be covering it a bit. I've got like a lot of stuff to cover on it. Some British media fails as well. I just despair at some of this stuff. I just don't get what is going on with this kind of selection of British politicians that we have been gifted by the electorate and the system. Because genuinely, what is actually going on? So we'll get into topics in a minute. But yeah, as I kind of went through the selection of kind of videos that stuff I wanted to cover, I'm just like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Honestly, it doesn't make any sense what's going on here. Honestly, it's just we've chosen to make life to play the politics in hard mode, and we are getting absolutely battered for it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Is there any other takes anyone wants to give on the state of British politics? I guess before I get into the main topics of the video, or kind of the community section of the video, because I just don't know anymore. Honestly, the PFJ is a massive wrong, and I don't even know who that is. Don't know. You guys are having a private conversation, I think. It's just a day of despair, when you just read the news. I did try and see if there's anything interesting on the BBC's main news page. There's not much going. Like, I guess this is actually probably an important one to talk about as well. Not Harry Kane joining Bayern Munich. No one cares about that. Oh, Dan Wharton. Yeah, the less we talk about that story, the better. Honestly, I don't know what the hell's going on with that guy. That is dodgy. That is dodgy as hell. In my opinion. Honestly, I saw what was I saw some of the coverage of it, and I was like, what has happened? What has happened here? Honestly, I don't get it. But yeah, other than that, just reading through the story, we'll get to it when we get to it, I guess, which will be like not too long. Um, I saw Viking had a question around like has Braverman not heard of the one of the conventions. I mean they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. What they want is the courts to strike it down so they can continue to carry on this culture war because they passed multiple laws on this stuff and none of it has done anything because under international law, if you want to seek refuge in a country, you can do that. So for what these people are doing is just silly, honestly. But it's a culture of their own creation, and they're getting picked apart for it because they're being attacked from the right. Effectively, they're being attacked by what's his name, the Reform Party, and kind of members of the far right of their own party. That's their problem at the moment. Braveman doesn't care. Braveman doesn't care, honestly. There was an unfortunate tweet from Diane Abbott, which come out this week. Some of the takes people have had is just, can we not do better? Honestly, but yeah, if you want to leave a question for the next live stream, it's in the community section of the channel. All you have to do is go to the main channel page, click the community button, and you should see a post. So I'll put the one for 13 up now. As you can see, very creative I am, just copy and pasting things. But if you want to put a question in for next week's chat at any point during the week, just put it here and you will find it. As we kind of go into, it'll be the 19th. So yeah, if you want to leave a question for next Saturday, let me know. Yeah, we're going to talk about the coup in Niger. So I think it was the military that waged this coup, which is West African nations. West African nations have suspended a key military meeting on the crisis. As I struggle to find my mouse, where is it? Oh, there it is. Fears also mounted for elected President Mohamed Bazoum, who was ousted by members of his own guard on the 26th of July. So this is not that old, this news story, but it's just kind of nuts that the coverage of it has been so lacking. I'm a person who tries to keep up with a lot of the news, even international stuff, and I've not seen a lot of coverage of this coup attempt. Niger's leaders have accused ex-colonial powers, France, a close Bazoum ally, of being behind the hardline ECOWAS stance group against the coup. I mean, there is a lot of pro-Russian stuff going around, but that's mainly just to show that they're anti-Western, from what I've heard. France has about 1,500 personnel in Niger as part of the force battling an 8-year jihadist insurgency. The people who have done this could be very stupid to attack French forces because that is how you bring down a world of pain on yourselves. But I think France will be reluctant to get fully involved in this one. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of Western people do because it does have a stench of kind of colonialism in a sense. Human Rights Watch has said it has spoken to Bazoum earlier this week. The 63-year-old described the treatment of himself, his wife, and their 20-year-old son as inhumane and cruel. He said, quote, "I'm not allowed to receive my family members or my friends who have been bringing food and other supplies to us." End quote. He's saying his son is very sick as well. Congratulations on being one of our top readers globally. I've read 454 articles in the last year. Nuts. Probably read a lot less since I don't need to read as many for my work. But yeah, there's a huge coup going on in Niger, and like I said, the coverage of it has been lacking. It's just weird news stories on the sidebar as well. I don't know what more else to say about it, but a coup in any country is always a dangerous situation. I hope it gets resolved and the people who have done this coup get booted out. But what you don't want to see is a civil war start to erupt, because that's where you get into incredibly dangerous territory. So we'll talk about. I think the story's from. Is it from today? Oh god, yeah, it is. I think it happened yesterday. 6 people have died after a boat carrying, asylum seekers, not migrants, these are asylum seekers, sank in the channel off the French coast. 2 people may still be missing. A spokeswoman from the French Coastal Authority, Premier, said after the vessel got into difficulty in the sea near Calais. You would assume the seas are a bit calmer during the summer, but the ocean is heartless. It's not to be played with, and the fact that we could set up kind of centres in France to stop this is just nuts. Like this is solvable. This situation is solvable, but we have chosen not to do that. If you look at the difference in the way Ukrainian refugees have been treated compared to ones from Africa and the Middle East, it does show you that some people have certain beliefs that have prevailed, especially since most refugees stay nearby their country they're escaping from anyways. In its latest attempt, Premier said interviews with survivors suggest 65 or 66 people are on the boat. Often boats are so overloaded it is difficult to tell how many people are on them. Premier said 22 or 23 people were taken to Dover by UK rescue crews, and a French boat took 36 to Calais. Two French boats are still searching for people, so this is an ongoing situation. As you can see, I don't think they got that far even from France. I guess if they're coming from Calais, they made like a decent. They got through a decent amount, but if it's about 5 miles, that's not a ton of distance that they have covered. Which goes to show, the English Channel is no joke. It is not something you want to be crossing on a boat that's not built for it. French prosecutor told the AFP news agency that the first of the victims was an Afghan man aged 25 to 30. I don't know if this would be one of the specific people the UK offered refuge to, but, someone escaping Afghanistan is no surprise. Enver Solomon, chief executive of Refugee Council, thanked the rescuers for their efforts, but urged the UK government to work on creating an orderly and humane asylum system. The English Channel is one of the most dangerous and busiest shipping lanes in the world, with 600 tankers and 200 ferries passing through it every day, and a lot of that would be tourists and exports going to and from the UK and France. Home Secretary Braverman called what happened a tragic loss of life. I doubt she cares, honestly. I genuinely don't think she cares. She can say, oh, it's sad and all of this stuff, but let's be honest now. A UK spokesperson said the deaths were devastating, and our thoughts are with the victims, families and friends at this time. Sadly, we will do nothing about it. That's not what they said, but let's be honest. And they've turned it into a political stunt. Saying this is sadly another reminder of the extreme dangers of crossing the channel in small boats, and how vital it is that we break the people smugglers' business and stop the boats. Or you could set up a dedicated centre in France in order to process people's claims. I don't know. They can always talk about how tragic these stories are and how sad it is that people have died, but they'll never do anything about it. That's the truth of it, and I've not heard many solutions from any British politicians really of how to solve this current crisis. I say current, it's been going on for a good few years now. There's offered no solutions, not really. So we are where we are, I guess. The fact that the UK. No, we'll talk about the boat in a bit. I think there's a couple of clips I did want to talk about. This being the most important one. Genuinely, I couldn't believe you had a British politician say this so openly. Just got to keep an eye on the audio levels a bit. But this is so stupid. What Jenrick here says is, the guy is not intelligent at all. But this is just a wow. This is a mask off moment, honestly. And I can't hear anything. Why? Okay, this is a good start. Why does it default to the thing I don't use? There we go.
Is the backlog so huge? Why does it take 1 to 3 years to process somebody here in the UK and it takes 6 months in Germany? That's the nub of the problem, isn't it?
It isn't the nub of...
It takes 6 months in France as well. No, does it? I think it takes a bit longer in France, actually. About a year, I think.
The problem, but it is an important thing that we have to get right. I say that because there are those, such as the Labour Party, and you heard from Yvette Cooper earlier, saying that just if you process claims quickly, that will fix it. I think that's a naive view. That's what...
So if we process claims quickly, you wouldn't have to use so many hotels. You wouldn't have to use the stupid barge thing. We'd have to use the barge thing anyways, let's be honest, but you wouldn't have to go through the depths that we are going through, and it would be a lot cheaper just to process the claims. This is something AOC talked about it with the southern border in America. Instead of spending all of this money on border enforcement agents and all of this kind of stuff, why can't you spend it on caseworkers and lawyers to help process people's claims?
what they did when they were last in office, and that just encourages more people to come. But it is right that we make the Home Office as efficient as possible, and the good news is that we're succeeding. We've increased the number of decision makers to 1,800, and we're
About goddamn time. About goddamn time. You've increased the numbers of people processing the claims.
on course by the 1st of September to increase that to 2,500. That will be almost doubling the size of the organisation. Productivity is rising, and the last 8 weeks of data show record levels of decision making. So I'm very confident that we will make good on the promise that we made in December to clear the legacy back.
So literally, this is a crisis of their own creation. They created this backlog, and now they're saying we're going to solve it. That's all they've done here. It's the classic trick. You create a monster and you say, I'm the only one who can stop the monster. Pay me.
Backlog by the end of the year, and to put the whole system on a more sustainable footing. But as I say, that is important, but it's not sufficient. You have to abut that good work with a proper strategy to stop people coming in the first place. That's where the Labour Party falls short, because they just don't have that plan, and I'm not sure they even...
You don't have the plan, big man. That's why we're in this mess. You passed multiple laws to apparently stop the boats, and you haven't done it because you have no solutions.
want to stop the boats in that regard. That's why the Rwanda policy matters.
The Rwanda policy is not going to work because first of all, it's not a deterrent, because I think people are just going to chance it and say, I probably won't get sent to Rwanda for a start, especially since it's been locked up by the courts anyways, and the ECHR are all over it as well. That's another problem the UK has, but also the fact that you can't send that many people to Rwanda anyways because the scheme doesn't allow it. So, if people who want to come here and chance it, they will chance it and say, I probably won't get sent to Rwanda.
That's why making the UK a less attractive destination matters, such as by putting people in rudimentary and decent accommodation, but not luxurious form.
I mean, it's not decent accommodation. Is you've sent people to a barge that has, that's a fire risk for a start, but also the fact that there's a massive bacterial outbreak on that boat on that barge, because there's no clean water. This is stupid. Do you want to see if I can find this quote up here that they've attributed to him?
So huge. Why does it take 1 to 3 years to process somebody here in the UK and it takes 6 months in Germany? That's the nub of the problem, isn't it?
It isn't the nub of the problem, but it is an important thing that we have to get right. I say that because there are those, such as the Labour Party, and you heard from Yvette Cooper earlier, saying that just if you process claims quickly, that will fix it. I think that's a naive view. That's what they did when they were last in office, and that just encourages...
And we didn't have the problems that we have now. So literally, the problems, the backlog we had was nowhere near this under Labour. So for them to say, they processed the claims quicker, and that caused problems, like what problems did it cause?
For people to come, but if you process claims quickly, that will fix it. I think that's a naive view. That's what they did when they were last in office, and that just encourages more people to come.
Which is just stupid, honestly. What he just said there is so dumb. The only thing is, if you, best for written, if you write this, you should add an ellipses, because these aren't two conjoined sentences, if that makes sense. But yeah, honestly, it's just so stupid. Are you guys criticising how many tabs I have open? I swear to God. But yeah, Robert Jenrick on another one.
Part of that
Fucking hell. Oh, sorry about that. That's loud.
deterrent painting over Disney characters in deportation centres. Did you sanction that? And in one case, I think it cost about £1,500. Is that, in your view, a good use of taxpayers' money as a deterrent?
Well, what we did do...
Painting over murals as a deterrent. I mean, all you're doing is just, showing kids that, they haven't escaped the heartless monsters. They're still here. Here's one of them now.
Was to change the signage at the initial places where people first arrive in the United Kingdom to make sure that they were appropriate, and that we had made it clear to people, adults, that they had broken the law, that entering the UK illegally is the wrong thing.
They haven't broken the law, because you can claim asylum. You can claim asylum in any country. So as long, you can claim it, your claim might get rejected, but it's not illegal to do so. So this is just more nonsense. And the fact that the media and kind of the British public are so uneducated, this is one of those painful things where, just like on the economy, we just won't get anywhere until people are actually told how things work. And that's frustrating, because none of the political parties really want to do it, aside from maybe the Green Party, maybe. The rest of them are pretty trash at it. And the media are complete trash, and we'll talk about that in a separate clip.
thing to do,
But
and
there
that
are
they'll face
children,
serious
of course.
consequences.
And
in,
so
in the
painting
centre that
over
you're,
characters, is that something that you think is part of a sensible, humane system to...
Well, with respect, I don't think you judge compassion on this issue by the decoration at a particular centre that people
But it was
first
obviously
arrive in.
important.
100%. This is a thing where you know it's not the be all and end all having cartoon characters and whatever on walls, but it's a place where, you know, do you want just white walls where it looks like you're in a padded room or something like that? Genuinely, like, it's so stupid. Doing this just shows you how stupid these people are. Like, it doesn't make any sense to make this decision. It just makes things worse for kids. At least they'll feel a bit safer, potentially. Like, these are kids who have travelled very far and have escaped, you know, probably appalling conditions, let's be honest. And the government are like, oh yeah, let's take away something that might actually bring them some joy for a minute or two. Like, this is stupid.
When they
Enough to
come to
spend
the
money
UK.
on painting it over, so it must
Well,
have been
this is
an
a
issue.
this is a small element of a broader piece of work to change the signage at those locations. But the real test of compassion here is stopping the boats altogether. And
Once again, bro, you're not going to be able to do that because you can't stop people claiming asylum here. The only way you're going to stop the boats is by setting up dedicated centres in France and maybe a few other countries to help people claim asylum over there, so they won't have to come here by crossing the boat. Some of them might still try it if their claims are rejected, but then you have their claim already. So you can say, look, we've processed your claim, you weren't, you know, given asylum, and then go from there. Like, this is so stupid. Genuinely.
I have worked incredibly hard in the last 9 months.
Bro, no one in your party has worked incredibly hard ever. Like, you guys are probably out of the last group of Tories are out of Cameron, May, even well, I'd say Johnson, but Johnson's part of this. You lot have been lazier than any group of previous Conservative Party politicians. Honestly, like, you've worked incredibly hard to do what? You said paint over some murals. Like, you've barely done anything. Come on, bro, give me a break.
To do that, because I'm absolutely disgusted as a parent to see young people, children.
Yeah, the UK did have the best healthcare system under New Labour, categorically, but now it's trash. And I don't mean that as an attack on the people who work in the healthcare system. I mean it as the politicians have just completely just made it trash. They've hollowed it out.
Children being put into small boats, being exploited by people smugglers and human traffickers. And it's by breaking the business model of the people smugglers that we'll protect those young people, not by...
That's not what's going to happen, though, is it, bruv? Because it's not this. The problem isn't down to people smugglers. You know, some of it, they are kind of giving people access and whatever to boats and things. But the main problem is the fact that you don't have a dedicated asylum system. You don't have the centres in France. The reason why it's not, you know, Ukrainian refugees who are on those boats, predominantly, it's one from the Middle East and from Africa. There's a reason behind that. It's not hard to figure out, my guy. But this is an issue they created. But, you know, saying, you know, dealing with the backlog, those saying if you process claims properly, it will fix it. That just ellipses. That will encourage more people to come here. This is what they've done. They've created this whole mess. And if you want more kind of evidence on it, the Tories admit they failed on immigration. Hello, Akis. And this is it. This is probably one of the dumbest things that a Tory politician has done from a strategic point of view, because you have admitted your party has failed. So why would anyone believe you would be able to fix it?
Are stopping the boats.
But isn't the truth of it, your party has completely and utterly failed everyone.
This is out of control. We're in power at the moment. I'm as you say, the deputy chair of the Conservative Party. We're in government, and we have failed on this. There's no doubt about it. You know, we said we're going to fix it. It is a failure. Look, I'm not going to sit here, Nigel, and make excuses. It makes me sick.
You left, what, 3.5 years ago?
Every time I see a boat come across the channel, it makes me furious when I see...
So when you see a boat come across the channel, so if you see, like, people that own a yacht, does that make you furious? Like, when you see a ferry, does that make you furious? A kind of boat? You know, if you see, like, a frigate, does that make you furious? Like, come on, bro. He's a cartoon villain.
See them put in hotels and on barges.
What?
Furious when I see them put in hotels and on barges.
What a knobhead. But yeah, this from the British public, the British media, and you wonder why we're in this mess, right? Because we've got these bunch of morons who are on TV.
Bibby Stockholm, and the asylum seekers, the 500 who...
This is a barge, by the way, that has been called inadequate in terms of fire safety. One that is incredibly dangerous. If there's a fire in that thing, it could be like another Grenfell, but it'll be in the water. Like that's what this boat has been described as. So let's keep that in mind when this joker talks about their situation.
Potentially will be living on board the Bibby.com. They will have dental services, NHS dental services, Ed.
Some this morning.
So this is how you divide a population.
Yeah.
Else, but
Medical facility on board that will be staffed 5 days a week. There'll be a GP on one of the days. There'll be a nurse there, of course, and they will get NHS dentistry. And the locals around that area have got 8 or 9 different NHS dentists or dentists offered in Portland and in nearby Weymouth. None of them are taking new patients on.
So he's saying, "Oh, look at this bloody boat. It's going to have a GP on there once a week." Which, again, if you've got a few hundred people on that ship, one GP is not going to be able to solve anything. It's going to have other medical professionals. It's going to have, oh my god, it's going to have an NHS dentist on there. You can't get a dentist, but these so-called migrants can. This is the divisive language, and this is the media pushing this. Like, if you ever wonder why a country, especially one like England, because England is the main problem, let's be honest, is in the mess it is in, it's because we have idiots like this in the media. I'm going to play this again.
The Bibby Stockholm and the asylum seekers, the 500 who potentially will be...
Yeah, let the locals live on the boat. Let the locals live on the boat. If it's so good, that they can get dentistry and doctors and stuff, and they switch places. Let them switch places.
Living on board the Bibby.com, they will have dental services, NHS dental services, Ed.
Some this morning, is that
Akis, I'll be real, I've got no interest in watching that fight. This fight is so pointless. I watched Teddy Atlas's commentary on that fight. He's like, this fight is stupid. If it's in UK time, I might watch it. I'll be real. If it's in America, I'm not watching it. But this fight is stupid. I watched Crawford versus... sorry, this is about... Just going to tangent onto boxing. I watched Crawford versus Spence. It was alright, but... that guy Spence looked out of it. I'd rather have watched Gaethje versus Dustin, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
else, but
Medical facility on board that will be staffed 5 days a week. There'll be a GP on one of the days. There'll be a nurse there, of course, and they will get NHS dentistry.
This is where he goes full stupid.
And the locals around that area have got 8 or 9 different NHS dentists or dentists offered in Portland and in nearby Weymouth. None of them are taking new patients.
So the conversation should be, why has the system failed? Oh, UK time, sweet, I'm all over that. Honestly, yeah. Why is it the case that we're not having the conversation, why don't we have access to NHS dentistry? Rather than saying, oh, these bloody people, they get access to NHS dentists and you don't, how dare they? And then none of us can have nice things. Because that's the route he wants to go down, it feels like. And it makes me furious that, I don't know if these two guests push back on this, but the framing of this question is absolutely abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. It's not even a question, it's a statement, really. And it's like, is no one going to push back? The other lady the other lady hosting it, this one here, is she going to push back? No. Are these two? Probably not. That's not Chakrabai, is it? Nah, it's not. I don't know who that is. But this is why we get into the mess we're in, because you've got a bunch of jokers, right? Let's start with Generic saying if you solve the crisis, it encourages more people to come here, which we obviously know isn't true. Because if that was the case, then the numbers would have come down because the backlog's massive. So this guy, Cap, doesn't know what he's talking about. You've got a guy saying we've absolutely failed when it comes to dealing with asylum seekers, right? But we are still the people who need to be trusted to deal with it. You got this absolute fraud saying, oh no, they get NHS dentistry, you don't get NHS dentistry, meh. So we've got 3 frauds here. 2 politicians, so a minister, the deputy leader of a Conservative party, and whoever the hell this geezer is, I don't care. Like, genuinely, his name, I couldn't care less. But, this absolute fraud on daytime TV, on ITV, one of the biggest broadcasters in the UK. Probably second biggest. I'll probably say it probably goes, third. It would be BBC, Sky, and then ITV. This absolute fraud. Talking nonsense, and these guys are given TV places for a reason. It's because they're not going to rock the boat. They'll push boring standard media lines. They won't question things. So stupid. The framing here absolutely ugly. You got some more coverage here.
The government marched migrants.
So this is about people being taken off the barge effectively because of the fact. I mean, they're asylum seekers for a start, but framing here is absolutely abysmal. I think it's hundreds of millions. I think, Ava. I don't know.
On and then marched them off a mere 100 hours later after Legionella bacteria was found.
I don't even know what this stuff is. This is the first time I've ever heard of this kind of bacteria. I've heard of cholera, which is water based. Let's see, what is what is it? If people inhale small droplets of water containing bacteria, they can contract. What is this disease? It's a pneumonia type illness, disease, mild flu-like illnesses. So I don't know if this is fatal. What does it cause? A serious type of... Oh my god, no. A lung infection. Okay, now, doesn't sound fatal, but it sounds pretty bad if you do catch it. Whoops. Damn it. Just having a meltdown here. So. Yeah. So effectively, deadly. The windows don't open on the boat. It's the air conditioning that's the big problem. Spreads viruses. When it was a prison HMP... where you wasn't allowed to be on it. What? This thing was a prison boat for the UK since when?
Government marched migrants on and then
Asylum seekers.
marched them off a mere 100 hours later after Legionella bacteria was found on the barge. Is this an ignominious end to Rishi Sunak's big migrant week? There has been one malfunction after another this week, some political, others practical, involving everything from four-star hotels to a deputy Conservative Party chairman not on message. To add to that...
Fatal. In the 80s, right, fatal then, yeah.
After windy conditions at the start of the...
This is after they used the Napier barracks as well, which, there was a massive outbreak of COVID in that place as well. So, the Tories have a history of this, and they could be sued. They could be. These asylum seekers could sue them over this, no doubt. 10% fatality rate, 25% plus for those with... Oh my god, yeah, that's horrible. 10% fatality rate is very high.
The week. Fine weather yesterday and today brought 1,094 migrants across the Channel. The government marched...
This is nuts. This is absolutely stupid. What is going on here is crazy. And now you've got, you've got people in the British public saying this sorts of nonsense.
We should be hard line on this. Tell us more.
Well, why they're giving her airtime, I don't know, but, we move.
You want my opinion?
No, no one does.
That's what it's all about.
Right. I think it's very tough, and I'm sorry there will be some deaths. I truly am sorry about that, but we should not let them land.
So we should break international law. Is that what I've just heard here?
Sorry, what did you say?
We should not let the boats land.
So what should we do then? Should we sink them, Royal Navy?
No, the bit before you.
I'm truly sorry that there will be some deaths, because when the boats turn back, there will be some deaths, and that's really, really a bad thing. But they will then stop coming.
So commit crimes against humanity. Would it be a war crime? I don't know. Saying we should sink them. Yeah, Rishi Sunak just talking nonsense.
Compassionate, tolerant, and welcoming.
I do like these side-by-side videos people are putting together. So shouts out Farouk for that. I think he's done a few of these now.
If you choose to turn down, perfectly acceptable.
Oh yes, if you don't stay on the barge with Legionnaires bacteria and other problems, the Grenfell on sea, you could be made homeless.
Accommodation such as the barge, then we give those people due notice. If they don't change their mind, then we do withdraw their accommodation support at the moment.
Sorry, I don't quite understand what that means when you say you withdraw accommodation support. So what happens to them then?
Well, if they choose not to take the accommodation that's provided by the taxpayer for whatever reason, then they have to look after themselves.
So you just let them go? They just wander off freely and go wherever they like, or what?
Homeless, potentially a threat to other people, definitely in danger of themselves. This is the country we live in. Stay on a boat, a barge, a prison barge, effectively. Windows don't open, with potential viruses. One that if there's a fire on the ship, it's going to go up in flames, or be made homeless. This is the country we live in, people. Well, not obviously we. Some of us live in, the ones that it applies to in the chat. This is where we're at now. This is where you have no solutions for people, especially in a cost of living crisis. So what do? You deflect. You create a problem. You create a massive problem like this, and then you say, "Oh, we're going to solve it." How are we going to solve it? By doing the worst things that we can, and hoping that what we're doing isn't called up by the courts. It's not. It's not even Britain. That's the problem. It's England. It's not just England. It's some parts of England. this is, you have people like this that exist in this world. Could you imagine a situation where there's some sort of crisis in the UK, right? Mass flooding or something where parts of the UK become uninhabitable and people try and escape, right? These are the same people who are going to be jumping on boats and trying to get the hell out, honestly. And they're gonna have absolutely no shame in doing that. They're gonna feel no shame. They're gonna feel 100% entitled.
What?
Well, they would have to make their own arrangements for
be made homeless. Just say it, bruv. Just say it. I guarantee you, because the people he's trying to appeal to will lap it up. 100% they will lap it up. Honestly, just nuts.
Rewind and recap a little bit here. So at the beginning of the week, young men seeking asylum started boarding the Bibby Stockholm boat off the coast of Dorset. Some didn't want to which the Conservative Party Deputy Chairman, Lee Anderson, said they should, quote, F off back to France. Now, a number of ministers have been asked about that quote since the beginning of the week. They've all pretty much said they don't really agree with the language, but the sentiment they can understand. This morning, a minister finally said they disagreed with Lee Anderson, but about a completely different comment. Last night, Lee Anderson said that
I've not heard anything on that either, I'll be honest. I've not heard anything about the missing children for a while. Actually, that's a great question. No, I've not heard anything about it since it was a big story about two months ago, I'm going to say. Yeah, that is, yeah.
Conservative Party policy on immigration had been a failure. This morning, Robert Jenrick, the immigration minister, said
barge cost 1.5 billion. Absolutely nuts.
That comment I disagree with. Take a listen.
I'm not going to sit here and make excuses to anyone. This is out of control. We're in power at the moment.
Is this bro's office? What is going on here? Like, genuinely, like, you earn 80 G's a year. You think you can make your office look a bit better? It looks like he's sitting in like a kitchen. What is going on here?
I'm, as you say, the deputy chair of the Conservative Party. We're in government.
What is bro doing? Has he got one of those boards with the lines on it? Is that what he's building?
And we have failed on this. There's no doubt about it.
What is going on here? And here, like, if you're not on TV, at least tidy your room a bit, mate, or just get one of those things that change the background. God.
We said we're going to fix it.
I know my room's a mess, but come on.
It is a failure.
No, I don't accept that. This is unique. This is a uniquely challenging issue that we're facing, but we have the most comprehensive plan of any European country, and it's starting to bear fruit. What?
What's starting to bear fruit? Where? Where is this fruit? Honestly, is anyone going to pick the fruit since we have a labour shortage? Honestly, what they're talking about is absolute nonsense.
Here's the problem for the government. Lee Anderson isn't just some backbencher mouthing off. Let's face it, that happens quite regularly. This is a Conservative Party chairman saying that Conservative policy had been a failure.
Isn't Anderson deputy chairman? Is he the party's full chairman? I thought he's deputy.
This becomes a party discipline issue. I've had Tories from the right of the party who agree with Lee Anderson in principle, texting me today saying, how has he kept his job? Another saying,
it's because this is what Sunak wants. He wants the culture war. Because that's all he has. There's nothing else. There's nothing successful that he has done as Prime Minister. Even Boris Johnson, they've had no real successes. The only one they can point to is probably the vaccine thing. That's it, and that was temporary. That was very temporary for about 2 months. That's the only success that they can argue that they've had over the last few years. Unless you want to say he got Brexit done. Fine, 2. I'll give you 2. That's it. Over what? 4 years? So let's see. Yeah, we'll say 3 years. We'll be generous. We'll say about 3 years. Their only successes have been get Brexit done and a fake vaccine boost. That's why they're stoking this culture war. That's why Lee Anderson is his job. Because instead of talking about the failures of the Conservative Party, we're talking about an issue they have manufactured. They have succeeded to an extent on this, which is they have created a monster, right? They've created this monster, and now they're the ones saying they're the only ones who can solve it. And not only that, they are taking all the oxygen out of the room by creating this massive story. They are getting exactly what they want. That's why this situation is happening. This is it pretty much. That sentence, Lee Anderson, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, still sounds jarring. There's more to talk about on that one. Here in Poland, they have just increased the numbers of non-EU nationals wanted from 100k to 200k. Interesting. 2006, it was decommissioning as a British prison boat, same place as it is now. HMP where I didn't even know we had prison boats. I didn't. The 2006 is not that long ago. I didn't even know we were still running like that. That's nuts. I did see an interesting video about like how France had something called Demon Island or something like that, where they send some prisoners, I think. But I didn't know we had prison boats up until 2006. That feels like it's way too recent. Honestly, especially that kind of prison ship.
People have been fired for far less than calling ourselves a failure. Now, the timing of this has been quite fortunate for the Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak's 5,000 miles away on holiday and hasn't had to deal with it yet. But the feeling among some backbenchers is however he deals with Lee Anderson could give us some indication as to how a general election campaign will be fought. Essentially, keep Lee Anderson in place and the gloves may well be off.
Yeah, it's 100%. You know, this kind of fake kind of posturing, this kind of sports attitude that the this kind of journalist is taking, Paul McNamara. This is 100%. That's what the Tories said. They said this. That's what Lee Anderson said ages ago. They're going to focus on the asylum seekers and trans issues. That's what they're going to fight the next election on. Culture war stuff. We already know this. You know, this isn't some, oh my God, you know, if they keep Lee Anderson, it could be like this. This is what's going to happen. This has already been announced. They've said their strategy. You know, the villain has already said this is the master plan. Like, genuinely, like, this ain't no sports game where we're 2-0 down, bro. This is Jehovah. We know what's going to happen. Honestly. Introduce prison boats back when prisoners were full up. I see. That makes sense. As it's not good, but it makes sense. This is some analysis from Lewis Goodall, who's always a mixed bag.
Swearing. I mean, to be honest, the swearing, as much as anything, is cover. It's cover for the fact that Anderson is right. Actually, they failed. It's the reason the government is...
The reason why he's swearing is to make himself look like more like an everyman.
Happy about it, and they're happy that he says...
Yeah, no worries, Simon.
Stuff like that is because we all end up talking about the swearing rather than the fact that they failed. But of course, it's slightly gone wrong, the plan, because Anderson has now let the cat out of the bag and said explicitly that they failed. And that is what you get when you play with fire with someone like Anderson, is that they can be straight talking, and that's great, but they can be straight talking, and that can be bad. And what Anderson has done is effectively print the Labour Party's next election leaflet for them. This is going to be on every single election party leaflet in red wall seats up and down the North and Midlands.
Oh, interesting. He's got more of the Asian button style.
Straight talking himself. Lee Anderson has said it. The government has failed on immigration. And
HMS Maidstone was used as a prison ship in Belfast, Low in 1970s to hold internees that were in prison without... Oh, I see. It's kind of like Jitmo then.
The problem is that it punctures and it completely is at odds with everything that ministers from the Prime Minister down have said. Just listen to what Rishi Sunak was saying about this back in June. He's not saying the government's failed.
I will not rest until the boats are stopped. With grip...
I guess you must not be sleeping very much then, or taking any breaks. Oh wait, you're doing that now. Because the boats are still coming, so...
And determination, the government can fix this. And my message is this. Our plan is starting to work.
Is it though?
Compare and contrast with what Lee Anderson said, which is that it was a total failure.
Prime Minister, would you agree with your own deputy chairman who says that your government has lost control and failed? Home Secretary, would you agree?
Ooh, that's a valid point. I didn't think of that. Lock. Okay, cool. I didn't. Yeah, that's true actually. You know, that's what they're going to say. You know, do you agree? Yeah, that's a good point by Goodall. He's going to get pieced up on this. He's going to get those priorities looking a bit. Yeah, he's failed on all of them. If we go back quickly, let's see. So half inflation failed. Grow the economy failed. With just about 0% growth, so we could easily fall back. Reduce debt failed. I think he might have done that one. I think Jeremy Hunt might have done that one. Cut the waiting list failed. Stop the boats failed. So he's failed. What's that? 4 out of 5, which is about an 80% failure rate because Rishi Sunak loves maths. So he's failed 80% of his target. So that's a U. That's an ungraded.
Who says that your government has lost control and failed. Home Secretary, would you agree with the Deputy Chairman that your asylum policy has completely failed, etc., etc., etc.?
So you appoint a Rottweiler to sink his teeth into...
It's not a bloody Rottweiler, the man's a pit bull.
The Labour Party, the lefty lawyers, the charities, the campaigners, the human rights activists and all the rest of it. But then you find that the Rottweiler is still so untrained that he sinks his teeth into his paymaster, the Prime Minister. What do you do about it? Do you keep him on in the post because you think net probably a positive?
I think you kind of let him carry on. You say, if they say like we failed on asylum, just say like, the stuff that has been done in the past has failed. We have to go further beyond that. That's why we have this stupid barge. That's why we have these other measures, because we're trying to really push the proverbial boat out and trying to do something about it, because this is untenable. Just say the usual methods aren't working and then blame Labour or something. It's a continent, not an island.
Or do you think he's dangerous and out of control?
Bro, I mean, he is dangerous and out of control, to be fair, and he's trying to boost his own profile, because let's not forget, this man also, I believe he has his own GB News show, so he's, chances are he might get voted out next time out. I don't know what the likelihood is in his specific constituency, but I reckon chances are he's probably going to get voted out. So he's trying to think of a career beyond politics, because he's one and done. He's only going to be there for one term, which, you can make decent money off it, 80 G's a year, like I said, but after that, what do you do? That's what he's done here. He's carved himself out a niche where he's going to have a career after this. That's the whole point of it. So we've got some Channel 4 stuff here.
So many of the headlines in recent weeks, a story about housing 500 or so asylum seekers. But that's dwarfed by the huge number of claims in the... 500, that's nuts. This whole thing only houses 500 people. I say houses loosely because it's a prison. But out of 136,779 claims, nuts, absolutely nuts. The system, nearly 137,000 waiting for an asylum decision and needing accommodation, of course, while they wait, because by law they can't work to support themselves.
So this is a system where I think other countries allow asylum seekers to work. I think the reason why the British government doesn't do that is so they can't apply for things like a work visa if they fail in their asylum claim. I think I remember reading that maybe a few months or maybe a year ago. But if that is the case, that it makes sense why the British government are doing this, as stupid as it is. But the point being is that, what's his name, Jenrick said this backlog is a deterrent against people. So how big does the backlog have to get for it to be an effective deterrent? 150,000 claims, 200,000 claims? Like, genuinely, what is bro talking about?
And our analysis reveals the government is on track to fail to meet...
It's 1.5 billion per barge as well.
Its headline asylum target at the current rate of progress. Here's why. Well, last December, Rishi Sunak promised that by the end of this year, he'd clear the asylum backlog.
Did he actually say that? Oh my days, what a clown. He actually said he's going to clear the backlog by the end of the year. He's got no chance. No chance.
Now, Downing Street later backtracked and said he was only talking about a legacy backlog of asylum cases, those in the system before 28th of June last year. So
you would hope that they will clear the backlog. That's a year and a half old. Like, genuinely, if you're still dealing with cases before the 28th of June in December, this is a complete failure. This is I can't even describe how big a failure that would be, because generally in Britain you measure things by working days. I don't even know how many working days that would be in terms of how behind the country would be in processing asylum claims. That's nuts. In any other field of work, this would be a complete disaster. This would be your fired territory if you'd done this in any other job.
How is he doing? Well, here's where it was at the end of June last year, just over 100,000 cases in the legacy backlog. And look, some steady progress down to just under 88,000 by January 2023. Then last month was the best month-on-month change since we started to count the legacy backlog. The government managed to clear then around 8,500 claims, more than double the previous month. So are they on track then to clear the legacy backlog this year as promised? Well, no. Processing could end up being quicker or slower, but at the far end here is a projection based on that best rate the Home Office has managed, and it shows that by the end of...
They might continue to hire more people, to be fair. They might hire more caseworkers in order to meet this target, but I can't imagine they're going to meet it.
Of the year, even at that best rate, there would still be not 0, but 20,000 claims in the legacy backlog. Now, the government insists that it is on track to clear it, that productivity is improving, and that it has more staff in post to process claims. So let's take that projection away. And remember, we've been talking here about the legacy backlog of cases before the end of June last year, the orange bars here. But of course, asylum cases didn't stop then. These grey bars you're going to see show the second backlog of claims made after that cutoff date has been growing. And you put these two backlogs together and you get the total backlog. So what's happened to that? Well, when Rishi Sunak promised to clear the legacy backlog back in December 2022,
let's not forget his original claim was he's going to clear the entire backlog, and then he pulled it back because he realised that it's a stupid target because clearly bro can't do maths.
The total in the two backlogs was 136,230. And since then, the total backlog has actually increased by 500 claims, getting nearer to 137,000. So, can the government clear the legacy asylum backlog? Well, on this performance, it's not looking likely. And the second backlog, Jackie, is set to keep caseworkers busy for a month to come.
And, you know, I don't know what the productivity rates are like, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're burning through staff as well at the same time. But this is nuts. 137,000 cases. They're dealing with claims from last year. And I get some claims will take a while to be processed. As you know, you need to gather evidence and whatever else, documentation, but it should not be taking this long. When I checked the average for a case to be processed in the UK, I remember reading it was about between 6 months and a year, but clearly that is not the case. I know France took longer, but I think maybe France actually were more honest about their numbers and the fact that they had, I think, more claims to deal with because, you know, there's still a lot of kind of asylum seekers staying in France rather than coming to the UK. But honestly, that's just nuts that we're in this situation. So I think we're switching gears. This is going to be, this is it. This is some stuff on Brexit that I wanted to discuss as well. You know, I'm going to cover this in a separate video anyways, which will hopefully be a bit more organised. But I found some of the Brexit stuff pretty funny. So we're going to be discussing this. Right. Here we go.
Picture of growth. Would you accept the impact that Brexit has played in our low growth?
Well, we've made a decision on Brexit years ago, and I think the country wants us to address the situation that we face now. And
I mean, literally, like, you know, the impacts are still being felt. Like, they will be felt really until we try and rejoin, until we manage to rejoin the EU, if possible. We will continue to feel the effects of it. You know, this is a massive change in our trading with our biggest trading partners. Let's be honest now, because outside of the US, most of the EU I think make up the top 10, and not to forget, you know, the disaster it's going to have on services as well. So, you know, for him to say, "Oh, that's the past," it's like, no, it's really the present.
I'm looking at life sciences, our strengths in advanced manufacturing, looking at AI.
Just gloss over. I mean, this is
Germany taking 6 months. That's pretty good, especially in the context of the UK.
Important. Something that your independent forecasters, the OBR, look at every time that they do their analysis of the economy. They say the impact of Brexit was the equivalent to the pandemic, 4% of output.
The country,
are we still paying the price for that?
The country made a decision, and my job as a government minister is to do everything I can to maximise the growth of the economy. We have got enormous strengths in the UK economy, and the government is focused on working with life sciences, advanced manufacturing, green industries, our world-leading financial...
Who are you going to sell the stuff that the life sciences produce? Who are you going to sell that to? You know, these advanced manufacturing stuff, who are you going to sell that to?
Services that I was responsible for 4.5 years.
No, but it's
is in a very,
that
very strong place.
That you're not disputing the impact of Brexit, the fact that exports and imports will be around 15% lower than in the long run than if we'd stayed in the EU.
Martha, I'm not a commentator, I'm a government minister. My job is to take action.
They're asking you to comment on something, you know, it's still part of your job. You know, they're going to ask you questions about things you should really have answers to. Like, oh, I'm not a commentator, it's not my job. It's like, it literally is your job.
That build the foundations for growth in our economy whilst addressing the massive challenges we face with inflation, as many of our...
It's not really a UK issue, it's more a great GB issue at this point. Honestly, you know, this guy saying I voted for Brexit because I thought it was actually going to make it easier for me to buy a home and live in the Mediterranean. How did Big Man figure that out? I don't know. I was so wrong. My application was rejected. I mean, if he lived on the continent and his application was rejected, that's a bit sus. As in, maybe he definitely did something wrong in terms of did he register on time and things like that. I don't know. Because I felt like dying. All of my dreams were shattered, and life does come at you fast. Imagine, right? Your dream is to live in the Mediterranean, right? And so you vote for us to leave the European Union, and then realise your visa or your residency has been rejected. Honestly, this is probably one of the most embarrassing. I wouldn't admit to this. If it was me, I wouldn't admit to this. I'll be honest. I'll be like, I voted Brexit and I stand by it. I would not admit to anything as stupid as this. Could not be me, dog. Here in Germany, 0 discussions about Brexit, not since 3 years. Well, that must be nice. But yeah, the UK is kind of screwed, so we have to discuss why we're screwed. Should just be kicked out for displaying the butcher's apron. What? Anyways, we carry on to young Jeremy Hunt.
A combination of factors.
A man who, between him, Sunak and Starmer, could put, those three could put anyone to sleep.
Because we have a combination of factors which they don't have. So we have higher dependence on.
So he's talking about other countries.
Gas, which is what countries like Italy have. We import around half our food, which is what Germany does. And we have very low unemployment, a tight.
So should we not focus on things like renewables and food security? Would that not make sense?
Labour market, which is what happens in America. We've got all of those factors.
And Brexit was a big factor in some of that, weren't they? Certainly in terms of the labour market.
Well, we've had low
100% it was from the labour market, yeah.
Unemployment since long before Brexit. It's actually been a strong feature of our economy. But
and again, having I think even sub 5% unemployment is not always the best thing because it creates a lot of there's no slack in the labour market, so people can't move around, retrain or get to kind of move up in the jobs world. It doesn't make sense. Is it too late to say he's sorry? That's the real question.
But you're not saying Brexit hasn't been a factor.
I think you need to look at the figures. I mean, you always try and persuade me that Brexit has been a factor. You need to look at.
I mean, it's not persuading anyone. Look at what the OBR have said about it. They're the ones that have said like Brexit has had an impact on the economy. They predicted it would have it, and they said, yeah, we're right. So for Jeremy Hunt to come out and say, oh, you're trying to convince me of this thing is happening, it's like we shouldn't have to convince you unless you're a complete moron.
The numbers here. The fact is that it's to do with those factors. It's to do with the high energy prices, the food.
The high energy prices that other countries aren't facing. We're paying the most for energy in the world.
Imports, the tight labour markets. Now, if you look at America, if you look at Europe, they have done.
So these global factors. If you look at, we've got the same problems that America has, but also the same problems that Germany and Italy have as well. So we have all of these factors combined together to attack us. Is it because these factors don't want us to succeed or something? This is such a stupid answer, honestly. Yeah, there are underlying factors. Our reliance on gas, the fact that we didn't move more towards renewables, things like that, that's impacted us. The fact that we haven't done windfall taxes and other things has impacted us. But, definitely the labour market is down. It's been caused by Brexit. How bad it is now. The toxic labour shortages we are seeing across the board.
The same things that we're now doing. So if we follow the course we're on, if we stick to the plan,
if we stick to like kind of how the Romans used leeches to try and cure people, this is the situation we're in now, where basically it feels like all the blood is being taken out of us, and you've got these guys who are the kind of the medical professionals in this case saying this is fine, this is the process, trust the process as you die because of blood loss, because the leeches have taken all your blood. And I don't mean leeches as in the sense of these people are parasites, but I mean this is what they're doing in this country. This is the prescription they've given us. Let all of our blood be taken out. It doesn't make any sense. Honestly, probably not the best analogy, but we're on the fly here, people. So you got the Chief Secretary to the Treasury refusing to acknowledge Brexit. You have the Chancellor refusing to acknowledge Brexit. And that's why one of the reasons we're in this mess, because we don't acknowledge the problems that we're in. With the asylum kind of seeker crisis that we're facing now, we haven't acknowledged why people are coming here to seek asylum, how the asylum seeker process actually works. When it comes to NHS dentistry, we haven't discussed those problems either. When it comes to Brexit, we haven't discussed those problems either. And that's why I get annoyed at kind of some other commentators in the space who say we need to rejoin now and blah, blah, blah. First, we need to do an autopsy on how we actually got into this mess. and that still hasn't been done properly. The kind of toxic attitude towards things like freedom of movement, this idea that we can be, this great nation again, that's not going to happen. Like, we became a great nation because of gunboat diplomacy, because of muskets and redcoats, and our ability to seed division within other communities. Like, that era is gone. Like, the best way we can succeed is through collaboration, and us leaving the European Union goes against collaboration. Us joining, the CPTPP and these other things, it's not going to dent the problems that we are in. Prices in the UK are completely crazy. I don't understand how the middle class can afford it. I mean, they're cooked. Let's be honest now. If you're a middle class person with a mortgage, you're done. That's it. It's a tragedy, but we all get a good laugh at the UK for Brexit. But it really hits. But it hits real people. I mean, this is the situation we're in now, where we vote for the biggest dummies. Like I said, the biggest clowns outside any circus. We voted them in. And now we've been hit with 2 crises at once. Let's be honest now. The kind of 3 really, when you think about the the kind of pandemic and its impacts. You've got Brexit and its impacts, and then you've got the Russian invasion of Ukraine and those impacts. And so you have a combination of 3 crises. One of them we shouldn't really be impacted by that much. The other one, we prolonged the pandemic and caused all sorts of problems there. And the third one was completely self-inflicted in Brexit. So for us to go through this goes to show you how stupid a country we have been, and the fact that we've elected the most unqualified people to deal with these crises. That's where the UK is at the moment. We have elected clowns, and we're getting the full effects of the circus as we enter a crisis. Do you think the Tories will be crazy enough to leave the ECHR just before the GE and leave Labour with a mess? Now, I think what they'll do, because I don't know how hard it is to join the ECHR, I don't think it's that hard. What they're going to do is they're going to use this in their next manifesto and say we're going to leave the ECHR. That's what I think they're going to do. That's something I think Sunak has mentioned, I believe. But they're going to turn this into the next election issue. We'll talk about the trade for a second.
Now, the UK's trade has taken a hit since Brexit. Here's the trade intensity of the rest of the G7, trade as a share of the economy. And here's the UK. As you can see, a markedly worse...
So obviously that spike was down to a lot of exports to the EU because people weren't sure about what the border processes were going to be like if it was actually going to be impacted.
Performance since we left the...
I don't know how difficult it is to join the Council of Europe, so I can imagine they're going to use this as a manifesto promise next time.
Single market.
Geez, we can WhatsApp the BBC.
Analysts say that's one of the reasons our economy has been so weak lately.
Exports are a very important part of our economy, and so global growth is very important. As a result, we do need to care about what happens to our trading partners. If they're struggling, if growth is weak, if they're in recession, then we'll see the impact on UK exports, and we'll see the impact on broader UK activity.
I mean, Chatty, that's not going to stop Britain. It's not going to stop the Tories, let's be honest.
So, why does the condition of the global economy, China, Europe, the United States, etc., matter to you? If the demand for UK goods and services is weaker because our key trading partners are slowing down, we will ultimately feel it in our wages, our incomes, our jobs, and general living standards.
The problem is, though, it's not the other countries that have massively slowed down. Germany's the only outlier, well, next to us in the G7. The other countries are doing okay. The fact that the reason why UK goods aren't exporting as much is because now they cost considerably more. They cost more potentially because of trade barriers if you're an EU country. So you've got customs fees, you've got potential tariffs, which is not great. You have the goods being more expensive now, as in they will probably cost more because of the increased cost to produce the goods. Wages have gone up due to tightness in the labour market as well as inflation, and obviously inflation being a factor as well. So, if you can buy the goods cheaper elsewhere with less of a headache, why would you not want to do that? So, the arguments he makes, the points he makes are decent, but the analysis at the end, talking about other countries slowing down, it's just nonsense because they're not the ones really slowing down. It's us. We are the major outlier in the G7 in terms of we have just come back to pre-pandemic levels. Germany's the only outlier with us, and that's, I think, predominantly because their trade was so dependent on Russia. Traveling to the UK for Europeans is more expensive. Yeah, that's true. You need passports. That costs money, obviously. If you can travel around, I can't remember what your ID card, if you're an EU citizen, gets you around the EU. And, obviously the fact that, EU citizens don't feel welcome either. Why would you go to a country you don't feel welcome in? It doesn't make any sense. So, the service industry is failing. The tourism industry is dying. Trade is dying. It's just across the board, there's so many problems. Please, would someone explain to me the total disconnect in the UK between people, between their NATO wars, coups, sanctions, and the migration of millions of people? Why is Syria being starved? I mean, Syria is still under civil war, so, I mean, it's not hard to figure out why they would be having food issues if they're having any. We move to the next point, which is the intellectual titan of Ben Habib.
In large part by the United Kingdom, at a time when Europe had just come out of a world war, and it was done in order, in effect, to control rogue European countries. We've got to...
Now, I wonder which European country is housing asylum seekers on a barge that is incredibly unsafe. Would you call such a country a rogue country?
Call out the motive absolutely clearly. The United Kingdom was only part of it because it established it in order to bring some kind of human rights, a level playing field to Europe, which had been sadly lacking for during the war and many years before that. And it has served its purpose. It's established in large...
It has served its purpose, so we're going to leave it so we can break the rules. So we helped to create a thing to create a level playing field, and now that everyone else is using that level playing field, we're like, nah, psych, we're going to leave. Come on, bro, like, it's just stop platforming this geezer, honestly, or at least bring on a TV host that knows what they're talking about. This one's pretty funny, the use of statistics in clown-like fashion.
Growth figures, better than expected, but I'm sure you'd agree, still pretty poor at 0.2%.
Well, I think they showed a lot of resilience.
We got some growth. You love to see it, but again, it's not a lot.
It's in the UK economy, and if you look at what's happening in Germany, where it's flat, and where in Italy, where it's minus 0.3.
Oh, is Italy had minus growth. Interesting.
It's not easy across the whole of the world economy at the moment. The combined effect of what happened with Russia and Ukraine, supply chains, the legacy of COVID, that can't be fixed in one lever from the Treasury.
Interesting you make those international comparisons, because looking at, and this is coming from the House of Commons Library, a very recent paper, they say that compared to the pre-pandemic level, UK GDP, this is in the beginning of the year, was 0.5% lower, compared with the Eurozone being 2.4% higher than pre-pandemic, US 5.6% higher. So we're not doing nearly as well as our international comparisons.
Martha, we can trade statistics. We can say the IMF of
and that's what these kind of spinners do, don't they? They're like, oh well, when I make international comparisons, fine, but when you do it, we can trade statistics all day, but we're not going to get anywhere. When they get shown bad statistics, they get all upset about it.
Upgrade of the UK economy this year by 0.7% is unprecedented. We had the fastest growth in the G7 last year, and if you look at...
We had the biggest drop-off the year before. Come on, bro.
Since 2010.
Well, if we compare with the pre-pandemic levels, we're not doing as well. You must concede that.
We had growth faster than...
And this is where, you have to know what you're talking about and be ready to interrupt people. I think she obviously had the facts at hand, but you got to be ready to to get in there quick and interrupt them and say what you're talking is absolute nonsense. There are some other miscellaneous stories I want to talk about, which is Labour, the election watchdog probing a 600,000 Labour donation for transparency breach. So from what I read, this is Barnes and Richmond Labour Club, an institution donated 598,000 to Labour in December. The organisation is listed by the Central Party as an unincorporated association, a legal term for associations that aren't registered companies or other formal bodies. So I think this is maybe an organisation that takes money on behalf of Labour, or at least people can donate through this organisation to donate to the Labour Party, and it's a bit more kind of hush-hush. The Barnes and Richmond Labour Club don't appear in the register of unincorporated associations, despite having donated more than £500,000 to Labour. As a result, it is not accounted for the source of these funds, so we don't know where the money's actually coming from, although its former secretary told Open Democracy the cash has come from the sale of a club building itself, so they have sold a building and donated that money to the Labour Party. Bit sus. Documents at the Land Registry confirmed that the 4-storey townhouse in Church Road, Richmond, was sold in 2018 and turned into flats. It's very strange that this association would sell their building and donate to the Labour Party. Under the UK electoral law, unincorporated associations that give more than 25k in any year must register themselves with the Electoral Commission. Once registered, they must report all incoming donations of 700,000 for that year and the years immediately after. But a spokesperson for the club said the Central Labour Party hadn't informed them of this rule. So, they should really have done their own research. And they should really have known this. I don't think that's the fault of the Labour Party. The failure raises questions about Labour HQ's rigour in ensuring its donors comply with electoral law. The Central Party did not respond to Open Democracy's request for comment, and I think with Labour kind of struggling, I think for members, they've gone more towards big party donors, especially because the Labour Party has taken apparently some big legal cases against certain people, and that's costing them a lot of money to pursue. But what we can see from this is, no party should be receiving this sort of money from any organisation. Politics, really donations should be capped. In my opinion, below £100. Like, no one should be able to donate more than £100 to a party. I do like the idea of public-funded elections, as in the taxpayer will fund it. It's not funded by outside money, or perhaps a system where people can choose where the money is being allocated to in terms of which political party. I've heard that idea before. Which I think is a much better system, but having kind of organisations that can donate over £500,000, I think that's deeply wrong. But we'll see what happens. If there's an outcome to this investigation, I'll try and cover it as best I can. This is one where I found particularly ugly. The Good Law Project saying they can reveal that Theresa Villiers has at least £70,000 worth of shares in oil and gas giant Shell whilst being environmental secretary, according to new records only just published. So we had a government minister who has a massive conflict of interest because she was the environment minister, and she had massive shares in Shell. Does anyone see the conflict of interest here? Honestly. She should not have been in that role, and ministers should not have shares. It shouldn't even be in a blind trust. They should be forced to sell off. No politician should have shares in a company. The head of engagement of the Good Law Project has said, quote, "It raises serious questions about whether the government's duty to protect our environment was completely compromised by a Secretary of State's financial interests in big polluters," end quote. And I think it was, because, why would you make decisions that impact the amount you're going to make from your dividends? And potentially, if the shares go up like they have done, the shares for Shell and BP have gone up considerably. If you're looking to make a profit on your shares, why would you make decisions that go against that? And we hear what the Tories have to say about this.
Theresa Villiers, and the news that's emerged today that she owned £70,000 worth of shares in Shell when she was Environment Secretary. That wasn't declared for 5 years. What do you make of that?
Well, I think she's apologised. She's admitted their mistake. I think part of the situation is there's an MP regime for disclosures of private assets, and there's a ministerial regime. As I understand it, she didn't fulfil the obligations of the MP regime while she was a minister. But as I say, she's been very clear in apologising. There was an oversight on her part.
I mean, it wouldn't stop it, but it would help. If you can find the donations by public entities, you can find the party for taking them. That's what you could do here.
And she will correct it and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Yes. If you have any out-of-pocket topics or anything massive you want to cover, you want to put those in the community section, as I mentioned earlier in the stream. But she will apparently do better next time. 70,000 worth of shares, but she will do better next time. Don't worry, guys. We'll get them next time. Stupid. This is another one I want to cover.
ITUs, they responded by topping up their shower. We topped up fluids for patients dying the most undignified deaths in makeshift ITUs. They responded by topping up their champagne glasses in illegal lockdown parties. When we risked our lives going into work during the pandemic, this government responded with a meaningless round of applause. But claps don't pay the bills.
We're fighting for pay restoration. We've already done 15 days, and we'll do another 15 days, and another, and we will just keep going until they get the message. We have some of the most amazing, dedicated, experienced doctors, some of the highest clinical excellence.
Yeah, she should be brought in front of a standards committee for not declaring shareholding. Yeah, 100%. 100%, you should be. That's a massive conflict of interest, and you should be pulled up in front of a committee. And I think she should get fined for that, honestly.
In the entire world, leading research, developing new therapies, leading the way across the world when it comes to medicine. So why are we not worth it?
It's true, why they're not worth the money, especially when other countries are paying their healthcare workers a lot more. This I found particularly annoying. I guess we'll talk about this one first, because I think this makes more sense in context. Not this one. This one here, buy now, pay later medical loans on the rise despite desperate patients go private amid and just backlogs. The political system is so disconnected. You got people borrowing money so they can get routine operations done because the NHS can't cope because it's been hollowed out. This is the situation we're in now. This is more backdoor privatisation. And you have a situation where people getting into debt where they can't go to work because they have injuries or problems that need to be dealt with. The government, holding out the NHS means people can't get the help, so instead they borrow the money in order to get medical procedures done. That's the state of this country right now. Someone saying they have a junior doctor friend and was shocked at how much they get paid. Starting salary in Belgium is 58k with 45 days holiday, including 13 months on holiday pay. It depends on what rank you are, because it's always a bit blurry. But again, you need the situation in the UK is that it's completely broken, and I think a lot of the people who get their medical qualification in the UK will look to do their training in other countries, honestly, because it doesn't make sense to do it here. But yeah, this is the situation we're in here. We go on to the next one. I think this is like I said, some of these kind of journalists are a mixed bag, and they say some of the most dumb stuff. And I think this might be one of the videos where we see some of the dumb stuff.
Posted something about very powerful and talking, and there was someone standing up in support of you. I should say that some of the reaction to that has been a lot less supportive. Shame on you, UCU. I'm absolutely pro-union and pro-worker, except with this marking boycott nonsense. This cohort of students has suffered enough. It is a stain on trade unionism and a stain on you. Appalling.
So 100% that person, whoever submitted that, is not pro-union. 100%.
I mean, I don't think you can claim to be pro-worker and say that. Let's just take a step back.
Well, someone has.
Well, and I'm going to challenge that.
This is one of the tricks that journalists do when they have a specific kind of ideology. They could be playing devil's advocate here, but they can also pull up quotes in order to challenge someone and say, look, that's not me saying that, that's someone else saying that. It's just a quote, bro.
The marking and assessment boycott is a form of strike action that falls short of full withdrawal of labour. It's similar in that sense of the RMT or SLEF, not undertaking overtime. It is part of our industrial army as a union. It's one that we deploy lightly. And the reason we have taken this path is because strike action, balloting, campaigning,
Thank you, Verti, for the super chat. Really appreciate it, mate. I think it's got a sticker on it. Yeah, it looks nice. Thank you, man.
Negotiating, public shaming of employers and other political activities have not worked. So you cannot claim to be pro-worker and say that at that point, you just have to lay down and accept whatever your employer is doing. We believed taking this step would have forced employers who were sat on piles of cash. 44.
Some of these university like deputy chairs and whatever it's a nice sticker. Make stupid amounts of money. The idea that they can't pay lecturers more money is just stupid. It's unbelievable.
£4 billion of reserves would seriously negotiate with us.
Okay, Joe, let me just read you another one.
Here you go, look. So he's reading all of these anti kind of strike messages that he's getting. And, it's very clear what he's doing here, in my opinion.
What a load of hogwash. Get on with your jobs. I work delivering bread for Tesco through the nights, earn a quarter of what you get for far more physically demanding work. I'm still waiting for my low-value foundation degree grades, and it's only cost me a year's salary.
I mean, these people are angry, but what they are is, I would say that they're angry and should be putting their frustrations at government that have set up this system and employers who are sat on piles of cash and treating their staff like rubbish.
But Joe, you're the one who's made the choice to boycott marking students' work. That has a direct effect on people and their lives now because their lives are held in abeyance. That's your choice to have chosen that
Can
method.
You see, he's kind of agreeing with the framing here. This is a classic journalist trick. this is one of the dudes talked to me about on local radio, is when journalists want to push a specific agenda, they won't push it themselves, they'll find quotes backing it, and this is a way they can get around any kind of sense of bias, and you can see he's pushing it now.
Of industrial action.
Our members have voted for this form of industrial action, and as I have outlined, we as a union have tried every other method. We warned employers who have sufficient resources to pay people properly over a year ago that we would do this if they did not negotiate a settlement with us. Sadly...
Yeah, it's John Sopel. Like I said, a lot of these kind of centrist journalists, especially the former BBC ones, they're not great. Matlis has her moments where she does really good work, and then sometimes you look at she'll do really shit work. You've got her, you've got John Sopel, definitely the worst one out of the three. Lewis Goodall, he has a lot of good moments and some bad moments that we've covered on the channel. What's his name? O'Brien, the same. All of these kind of, because they all have kind of similar-ish ideologies, kind of centre left, centre right. Excluding, I think Nick Ferrari, who he's not really centre right, he's a bit further out than that, potentially. Some of these people are privately school educated, they have similar backgrounds. They don't push the boat out that much. They won't challenge the people they're kind of samey. That's the problem we have in this country. We have kind of samey journalists. I mean, the state of this geezer, I think you might have missed it during the stream, but, this geezer here.
The Bibby Stockholm and the asylum seekers, the 500 who potentially will be...
These are some of the people who are failing British society with their stupid takes. They've been given power. Journalists have potentially considerable power depending on their view numbers and the politicians they can bring on their show, and they come up with takes like this.
Living on board the Bibby Stockholm, they will have dental services, NHS dental services, Ed.
It's on this morning, is that somewhere else? But
medical facility on board that will be staffed 5 days a week. There'll be a GP on one of the days. There'll be a nurse there, of course, and they will get NHS dentistry. And the locals around that area have got 8 or 9 different NHS dentists or dentists offered in Portland and in nearby Weymouth. None of them are taking new patients on. But the Bibby Stockholm...
That's what I mean, the kind of framing here, just ugly, abysmal. And the same thing here.
They have decided that crushing their own workers and alienating students and potentially trashing the reputation of UK higher education.
I think it's important to remember is who brings in the revenue for these universities? Is it the universities themselves? Is it these higher ups? Is it these vice chairs and things like that? Or is it the lecturers that bring value because they're the ones who are giving the classes? They're the ones that the students come to see. I didn't see my vice. I think I saw the vice chairman once during the whole thing, and I get their work is mostly administrative, but it's the lecturers who bring the value. It's the lecturers who do the classes. They're the ones who educate you on the topics. They should be getting paid considerably more. So I have no objection to them striking because they should be paid properly, given the fact that they are professionals and they are teaching at the highest levels.
Was more important. I don't disagree that if you are a student, you will find this deeply frustrating, but the answer cannot be expecting the staff that teach you, that support you, that offer you mental health services have to be further driven into the ground when there is a sector that can afford to pay people properly, can afford to put people on proper contracts, and is refusing to do so because crushing their...
Yeah, no doubt they'll get paid. He would have been paid... Sopel would have been paid a lot by the BBC, and I reckon probably LBC offered him a lot more money. I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if LBC offered him a lot more money for him to jump ship. So yeah, these people are on stupid money. I wish I was on that level of money, but they're probably on 60 Gs plus minimum, especially since they're based in London as well. 60 Gs minimum.
Staff right now and trying to punish the union is their supreme goal.
Just listening to what you've said to us now, I mean, there has been very little about the students' experience.
This is what I mean. Look at the framing we are seeing here. Look at the framing we're seeing here. What about students? What about the students? Oh, you're ruining it for the students. Why don't the universities pay properly? Given how much the universities charge students now, they charge over 9,000. Not doing the mean bit here. They charge over 9,000 per student if you're UK based. If you're a foreign student, you can pay I think 13,000, 15,000. So where is all that money? Where is all that cash?
And what they're going through.
Because you've been asking me to defend why we're taking strike action, and I am here to speak on behalf of UCU members. Nobody, would say that what students have been through, whether it's the pandemic or the last year is good for students. Nobody, in our membership, we
6 figures are talking 100k minimum then.
We spend years building connections, relationships with students, making sure that they can do their research properly for their dissertations.
But 100%, if you're a student and you go to university and you go there for the full course, so you do a PhD, right? Undergrad is 3 years. I think an MA is 1 year, so that's 4. And if you do a PhD, I think that could be up to 3 years. So you're talking about 7 years potentially that you will stay in contact with some of these lecturers with. 7 years is a long time, especially in the context of education. So it's just stupid for this framing to go on here. It's the lecturers who bring the value to universities. They could do it online. They could teach from home and do it via Zoom. It's not the same. It's not as good, but they don't even need the classrooms because the online infrastructure is there. Genuinely, they could do it online. It's not as good, but you can do that. That's what I'm saying. They're the ones bringing the value here.
We are here because despite knowing from the offset this dispute would lead to damaging consequences for staff, students and parents, employers have pushed us here. So I used to teach lots of students. This is awful, but it is not of our choosing.
If he wanted to, you could argue he's giving her a chance to kind of set out a piece here. He could have been a lot more interrupting, a lot more shouting, whatever. But I think he's got to, if you're gonna take that option to give someone a chance to speak, I think you have to portray, you have to ask the questions of why won't the universities pay the lecturers more? That's the key question that he should be asking her as well, by saying, why is it that, are these pay demands unreasonable? And you can give her more space to talk about it. But instead, he's attacked this kind of union representative on this stuff, saying, what about the students? What about the students? Oh, you guys not being fair to the students. You're ruining it. It's just so stupid. Sheffield University had philosophers who had published papers and books who attracted students from around the world. A few of them have tripled their salaries by going to the US. Yeah, because universities, American universities can pay considerably more. We've already lost a lot of talent from universities, regardless, because of Brexit. We've lost a lot scientific community. We've lost research. Anything you can get a Horizon grant for, basically. When's O'Brien going to challenge Starmer like he did? Roshin, funny. It's jokes. You have jokes. He's not going to do that. They're boys. At the end of the day. He's defended Starmer a lot, and whenever Starmer does anything a bit dodgy, he's like, oh, I don't know about that, I disagree with it, but look at the polls. So honestly, he's not going to do it. Let's be honest. And no doubt, if Labour are trash after the election, after they win, if they win, he's going to be like, well, you can't criticise him that much because do you want the Tories back? Nah, you don't want the Tories back unless you're a Tory, bro. So this is stupid. But this is the levels we're stuck with in this country, and I'm just getting bored of it. Gonna end on this. I think PNO are back in the news, and despite sacking lots of people and breaking the law last year, when they sacked loads of people, when they tried to bypass the union, the boss of Brittany Ferries has condemned the behaviour of P&O Ferries and expressed surprise that the government has paid almost £230 million to P&O and its owner since the mass sackings last year. So the government have continued to give P&O money for contracts. An organisation that sacked predominantly, I think, British workers in the UK without cause, without warning, made them unemployed, has gotten more taxpayer money. Make it make sense, people, because this is sickening.
There is sometimes a difference between what politicians say and what they actually do. It's not
What? I can't believe that. No way.
Exactly a new phenomenon. When P&O Ferries sacked most of its workforce and replaced them with cheaper agency workers, the Transport Secretary...
It wasn't even just cheaper agency workers. It was agency workers from abroad. That was the main problem. Well, not the main problem, that was a major problem, where they could pay them, I think it was like £3 an hour or something like that. It's nuts.
Time Grant Shapps said the government was considering cancelling its contracts with the company.
I know I criticise a lot of people's appearances here, but her eyes match her suit jacket, which is genuinely impressive. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that before.
Switching to other providers, but that was then. Joel has now discovered that the government has since spent more than £250 million with the ferry business and its parent company.
It's the peak of the summer season at the port of Dover.
Why is Bro's audio lower than hers? Who did the audio mix for this?
P&O Ferries operates 4 ships here, and traffic is almost back to pre-COVID levels. Some customers are returning, others never left, despite condemning
P&O.
P&O
Tata, I think they're the ones who own Jaguar, right? They got paid, considerable money
for sacking hundreds of its crew. His Majesty's government is still spending a lot of money with the company and its owner.
The government have failed to match their words with actions. They've sat back, they've allowed P&O Ferries to get away with it, and worse than that, they've actually awarded them hundreds of millions of pounds in taxpayers' cash.
Written parliamentary questions submitted by the MP Louise Hay reveal the Ministry of Defence has made payments of almost £600,000 to P&O since the mass sackings for movements of freight and business travel. Separately, British International Investment, which operates as part of the Foreign Office, has paid £228 million to DP World for work modernising 3 ports in Africa.
This means your employment is terminated.
For movements of freight and business travel. Separately, British International Investment, which operates as part of the Foreign Office, has paid £228 million to DP World for work modernising 3 ports in Africa.
Why the hell are we paying money to modernise 3 ports in Africa? 3 ports are trash anyways. Why are we paying money to this company to do that? Why are we subsidising these 3 ports? Hello, Leeds. What is going on here? Let's see, English Viking. Let's see what else is going on in the comments quickly. Starmer should go for more popular policies that the public think are a good idea. I just hope the death penalty issue doesn't grow arms and legs. I mean, the death penalty is, I think, fairly popular in the UK. The problem is, the problem, the way Labour see it is if the public change their opinion on something, then it means Labour are screwed. That's why they've always offered temporary solutions. Things like windfall taxes, etc. So that's one of the reasons they haven't really entrenched themselves in any specific policies.
This means your employment is terminated with immediate effect.
Last March, on a Zoom meeting, P&O fired 800 crew without notice or consultation. Security marched them off the company's ships to be replaced by cheaper agency workers.
We did choose not to consult.
P&O's boss admitted the company had knowingly broken the law, but he insisted the action was necessary to avoid bankruptcy. At the time, the government called P&O's behaviour...
No, P&O did not do this in the other European countries that they are based in. They didn't do this in France. Thank you, Roisin, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. No message attached. If you write anything, I'll just shout out. But they didn't sack. I think they got workers in France. Didn't sack those. I wonder why. Why are the French workers so much more important? Is it because the French have stronger workers' rights? Is that why they weren't sacked?
Despicable. Grant Shapps promised action.
For our part, we're reviewing all government contracts with P&O Ferries as a matter of urgency and, Madam Deputy Speaker, with DP World.
Jeez, you gave DP World almost £250 million, bruv. Clearly you weren't serious, Shapps.
One of the seafarers
or should I call you Michael Green?
Was dismissed by P&O last year is unimpressed.
The government don't have the appetite to hold to account these corporate lawbreakers, and when they should be standing up for the British public.
Tonight, the government told us that it has acted swiftly and decisively against P&O Ferries' appalling treatment of its staff.
When did the government do that? I don't remember this happening. Does anyone remember this happening? Anyone?
It says all contracts held with DP World and P&O have been reviewed as promised, and it only uses their services when there is no other alternative.
Stop the cap, bro. Stop the cap. You're telling me there's no other services available, or you couldn't have gotten one of these other companies. Like you're telling me Brittany Ferries has criticised you for no reason. Like they couldn't, one of these companies couldn't be contracted out to do the work. Stop the cap, bro.
The government also points out that the Home Office did cancel a contract with P&O Ferries last May. The government has changed the law to compel P&O...
Bloody hell, that's a high-level skill, carrying that amount of cups with one arm on a tray and then filming in the other arm. That's nuts.
To pay its agency workers the national minimum wage. But the legislation won't take effect until next year.
Shock.
So for now, the company can continue to pay an average...
And it's the government that have set that deadline of up to next year as well. So shows you where their priorities are.
£5.50 an hour. The government has also introduced a voluntary seafarers charter last month. For the ceremony in Paris, DFDS, Stena Line and Brittany Ferries signed it. P&O has not.
I wonder why.
The boss of Brittany says P&O treats agency workers like galley slaves.
Goddamn.
Wage, the number of weeks worked on. Okay, it all complies with international law, but the real fact is, doesn't matter if it's legal, it's morally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
P&O Ferries says the suggestion it mistreats agency staff is manifestly false and offensive. The company told us it has returned to strength and is now back as the biggest ferry operator on the English Channel. It says the decision to sack
never let these brothers cook again. Don't use their services.
Last year has saved the company and secured 2,200 jobs. Joel Hills in Dover.
Honestly, you know, to sack that many workers, it was 800 workers in Britain, which was illegal. I don't think they were even punished by that. I don't know if anyone's taken legal action against them. The unions 100% completely goofed on it. You know, the fact that their union isn't speaking up about this as well, shocking. It's a rival who's speaking out about this, and they're going to be like, well, of course he's going to complain because he's a rival to P&O Ferries. But, you know, the fact that a company that had sacked British workers replaced them for, you know, agency staff that are based abroad, that are going to be paid considerably less. And it was Britain singled out on this one. You know, they didn't sack any of their French workers. Gee, wonder why. Goes to show you that, you know, how weak UK employment law is, but also how weak the consequences are of breaking our already pathetic laws. It's just tragic. I can't imagine being one of these workers and, you know, going through this, honestly. The fact that the government is still rewarding P&O with contracts, I mean, goes to show you that they're all talk. You know, Grant and Shapps saying, oh, we're going to deal with this and all this other nonsense. You ain't going to do nothing, mate. You won't do anything. Michael Green. Just makes me just not even sad. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm not surprised, honestly, that this stuff is happening. You know, I wish I had a soundboard because I could play these clips. But yeah, it just... One day I'll get the big soundboard out, but
Nate Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel? Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Gotta put that one on loop, get demonetized for it, but it'd be worth it. Just to have that clip, because I'm not surprised, honestly, genuinely not surprised by any of this. A company that broke the law did it brazenly, the most brazen way you could do it. Genuinely the most brazen way you could do it. Public, you know, they said, we're going to get rid of you lot, you're terminated, done, no notice period, no consultation with your union, you're cooked. And then, you know, for the government to say, oh, we're going to deal with this, oh, it's going to be struck, nothing happened. I don't think they're even taken to court for it, honestly. It's not even that the UK government don't care, it's that they work, yeah. Honestly, I think P&O are owned by one of the Gulf states, it might be Qatar. 100% they knew what they were doing. Mick Lynch was their union representative for the ferry. Was he? God damn, you know, glad he's in a better job with the trains than he is for the ferries. Because, yeah, that was a massive, massive failure. They should have gone straight to the courts over it. Straight to the courts. And sought at least compensation for what happened, at least minimum. But, you know, it goes to show you that, you know, some of these dudes, they can talk a big game. They're not about it. They're not about it. Yeah, workers in the UK do need to unite, and... yeah, Dubai. There it is, Dubai owned. Right. Okay, that makes sense. It wasn't Qatar. So, you know, one of the things that the Gulf states have done is try to diversify income. So this will be one of the things that they would have looked at as a way to make more money. So, you know, certain companies just boycott them. Honestly, just boycott them. Because what they're doing is wrong, in my opinion. And you shouldn't be supporting companies that you think aren't doing the things they should be doing. But yeah, I was going to say, almost at 2,000 videos, which is nuts. You know, it's not the best produced videos. 3.5 million views. Yeah, it's kind of big. The live streams are doing okay. It's got 170 views. Obviously, it depends on how people come back, and obviously people rejoin and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, I genuinely enjoy doing these live streams. It sets me up quite well for the week, because it gives me a load of topics that I actually do want to discuss anyways. I'm amazed this video of Rishi Sunak getting pieced up by the public has done well, even though some guy said, oh, too bad the title wasn't true. Like, bro did not watch the video because Sunak got pieced up about 3 times by 3 different people. The first one by the lady on Brexit, the second one by that dude talking about mortgages, and the third one with that lady talking about the NHS. So yeah, like he got bad. That video's done. It's going to be one of my best videos on the channel, no doubt, if we have a look. So that was great. Liz Truss still has the top spot on 65 and 53 though. A bit crazy. Liz, both these videos are Liz Truss. Genuinely, this one that came out a few weeks ago on Sophie Ridge, who no longer has a flagship show. Sad times. Nick Ferrari even made the cut. Theresa May in the top 10. I think Steve Baker. Look at that video. It's up there already. I mean, really, that video should probably be in the top 10. Should be up here. But yeah, the fact that Nick Ferrari actually did well. I gotta go see a chatty. Yeah, the fact that Theresa May made it twice. Theresa May holds the top spot. It's not Theresa May even. What's her name? Liz Truss holds the 2 top spots. Absolutely nuts. But yeah, this is a classic. This was just a compilation as well. That's the funniest thing. It's just Liz Truss avoiding interviews because she's bad, then her getting pieced up by this Sky News reporter. Just funny, honestly. Just beggars belief that this is the situation we're in. I heard that video of Rishi Sunak getting rinsed by callers. I mentioned. Let's see. I hope that video getting rinsed by Sunak. I mentioned it in different biases. Yeah, well, me and him are not on the best terms. I think after I pieced him up in a debate, but if his viewers want to see some real analysis, they know where I am. How is the lettuce doing? I think the lettuce is doing probably in the bin, or it might be compost. Hopefully it's compost. They put it to some use. But yeah, not much else to discuss. I think I wish YouTube enabled raids, but yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't do that. But yeah, I don't know what more to say on this one. But yeah, that video of Sunak getting pieced up it's done really well. So it's good to know the channel does have those videos where it can just some videos just have reach. It's just weird. Still hard to believe Sunak. I'm not surprised. Honestly, I'll play that Diaz clip again. It does not surprise me given the fact that a prime minister can resign and be replaced by someone by the party membership effectively. She was terrible in interviews, but she knew how to win the leadership contest. The only thing she couldn't do is stop her weird eye twitch and her very awful interviews. Please cover Truss's peer list. I'll try. I'll give it a go. I'll try and find it. I know the guy from the that think tank she likes is on there. I can't remember his name. Yeah, it was a fun one to do. After I saw some of the clips, I was like, I've got to cover this one. This one's a fun one. Seeing bro get pieced up by the public. Imagine a country where the British public do a better job of holding politicians account to than the media. Honestly, even Nick Ferrari was like, bro, like, what the hell? Even Nick Ferrari was like, this is unsustainable, my guy. Like, what are you doing? So that's how bad the situation is. A guy who is a conservative, is a Tory, was like, bro, what? Hard to believe that Rishi is getting away with being PM. I mean, it's not a surprise, honestly. The guy, he can string a sentence together. He actually looks decent. It's not surprising he's prime minister. I mean, he's as boring as David Cameron. The only difference is he's shorter and he's Asian. So him being prime minister doesn't surprise me. A Different Bias channel is presented by Phil Morehouse. Yeah, I know who Phil is. I did a debate with him before. Let's see if I can find it on the Sunday Roast channel. I'm familiar with him. Is it here? No, I didn't mean Big Maj Studios. No, I don't know. I can't find it. Here it is. So look, I understand there's a cap. That's your boy there with a trim that is looking better. They did now, and I shaved off my mustache because it was too long. That's me. That's Phil. That's Alex. That's Max. So I'm familiar with Phil. Yes. And if you haven't watched that debate, you should watch it because I think I did pretty well in that one. But yeah, I'm familiar with Phil. He's the kind of the biggest guy in the space. That's right. He was on the Sunday Roast with me. You're not wrong. Yeah, I'd say I performed pretty well. One of my best, no doubt. But we're not here to talk about bro. Yeah, yeah, I'd say I did pretty well. I definitely won it. If it was a contest, if it was an actual debate with consequences, I'd say I'd won it. No doubt. I'm not selling anything like that, Verti, but I did make some new merch. To be fair, if you're interested in that stuff, one second. See, I am not a robot. I did make some. I can't even show. It's not even the right link. Oh, you hate to see it. See if I can. Bear with me 1 second, guys. There is some new merch on the channel. If you're interested, I'm gonna order some. I'm not sure. Like, yeah, it's a bit pricey, but it's the way it goes on these websites. Honestly, like, I have bought some of their stuff before. It's good quality. The print looks good as well on the t-shirt. This is the one with the kind of more kind of cut off logo. There's this one that's got the longer logo, which I think it looks a bit nicer. If you want this one. And of course there's the jumpers as well, which that look pretty good. Yeah, Belarus all the way. So yeah, there is this merch available if you want to get some and support the channel that way. There is obviously Patreon as well if you want to support the channel that way. There's YouTube memberships, there's super chats, all that kind of stuff, as I kind of promote the hell out of this and put the audience to sleep with all the self promotion. But when you're a dude who does it on his own, you got to kind of promote yourself. Phil Toynbee, maybe. I don't know. I don't read a lot of her articles anymore. I got annoyed at Graham this week, blaming climate on oil companies. Next topic, going on holiday to Greece. I mean, to be fair, there's no shame on him going on holiday, but yeah, he's not. I wouldn't be annoyed about that. But yeah, Belarus on the Thames. Phil's second name is actually what? Oh, I see. That is not bad, Akis. Not bad. Not bad. I don't think he's that bad. At least he's not pushing the single market nonsense anymore. At least he has stopped doing that to an extent. But he's still doing kind of the other stuff that I find a bit. The fact that he was running to be a Labour MP and kind of seems to have muted a lot of his criticisms towards Labour. He did do a video kind of criticising them a bit more recently about the fact that their approach is a bit too safe, which again I still don't think he went far enough. But yeah, genuinely I don't. He's a guy vying to be a Labour MP. There's certain things he can and can't say. He works for the Labour Social Channel, a party that wants to be affiliated, or not officially affiliated, but, wants to have some sort of connection with the Labour Party. There are certain things he can and can't say. That's the difference between kind of him and myself and him and Max, or him and Outside Views, or what's his name? Any of the other guys. I'm trying Truth to Power, all of those other people. That's what makes him different. He wants to be a part of the party. He wants to be a part of the machine. So, there's certain things you can and can't say. That's, has it impacted his analysis? Probably, whether it's conscious or subconscious, it probably has. But again, that's kind of up to him to, be honest with his audience, up to his audience to see it. If they don't, then that's on them. That's on them. But, there are ways you can support the channel. If you want to get some cool merch, go for it. Again, I'm going to order some. I might shoot like a little video for it as well. I'm not sure yet. I'd have to get trim if I was going to do that. But yeah, there's some good stuff there, some good pieces. And if you're interested, I might sell the poster as like an art piece, like prints, because I think it looks pretty good, honestly. Can we see it? If I click on it, will it zoom me in, or is it going to take my channel? No. I genuinely think it looks really good. Like when the guy sent it to me, I think there's a couple of things I might change. But I think for the most part, it looks pretty good. So, yeah. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but their uncritical support for Starmer is dangerous. I mean, yeah, uncritical support for any politician is pretty dangerous, honestly. But yeah, it's the way it is. And I do my best to give you the best analysis. I've been doing this since the end of 2019, really. So I think the middle of summer 2019 started, and I got serious after that general election. I think. Look at some of my oldest videos. I'm just trying to remember. Some of these are embarrassing, but you know, back when I didn't do thumbnails, so I didn't want to get copyright claims. See if we can find a date on this. If you want to see a guy who talks fast, by the way, these are the videos you want to see, because yeah, 4th of December 2019, that's when I think I got a bit more serious with the channel. Kind of that period. I mean, I did try it kind of way back when I was still in uni, but you know, I wanted to be on camera because that's how all the cool guys did it, and then I stopped doing that. Sorry for the few audio volumes. At least, yeah, it's back when DaVinci Resolve used to crash on me all the time, and yeah, at least I've kind of fixed some of the production issues I had from back then. But you'd expect it, you know, kind of from 2019. We're in 23, so this will be kind of, I think, the 4th year of the channel. Yeah, I think, yeah, we're in the 4th year of the channel, so I think the channel's kind of progressed a bit with some better art. My brother made the logo for me, and yeah, I really like it. That's why I kind of kept it onto this piece as well. Keeps misrepresenting Corbyn and leading the division. I mean, he said, you know, he understands why people wouldn't vote for Corbyn and they tactically vote for him, and then now he's saying, you know, we got to tactically vote for Starmer. So, you know, that's where we are. But yeah, I think I'm probably going to end the stream here. We're going for almost 2 hours. We're going for about an hour and where's the thing gone? An hour and 50 minutes. So it's generally longer than I really want to go. I think an hour and a half is good enough. So yeah, big up the people who did the super chats today. I don't monetize these streams because YouTube does all sorts of dodgy stuff. So what YouTube will do is when I'm trying to remember now, if I hit monetization on the video, it would hit you with a lot of ads, and it will also hit you with ads if you watch this back. So I don't mind kind of ads at the start and at the end, but I think if it does it in the middle, I detest those. So there's a reason why I don't do mid-roll ads on the channel, but I think YouTube will probably YouTube's been trying to add those more and more, which is frustrating. No, I appreciate that. If the mic has made a difference, then that's pretty good. You know, that's good news. A vote for the SNP is a protest vote. Yeah, that's going to be one of those great quotes of all time. Honestly, that's going to go down. Sun Tzu. That's a Sun Tzu level quote. I'll be honest. To know one's enemies, to know oneself. To vote for the SNP is a protest vote. That's where we are right now. So it's pretty funny. Yeah, one of the best quotes of all time. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, gang. And for anyone who watches this back, you know, shouts out to you. Let me know if you're one of those people. Fight for a new working class party. I mean, unless PR is implemented, then you're better off fighting for the Labour Party. That's the best thing to do, is get in the Labour Party. Yeah, try to monetize it. Nah, I'm not doing mid-roll ads. Like I said, I don't like mid-roll ads, and I can't respect anyone who uses mid-roll ads. Genuinely, like, it's just cancer. You know, I bought YouTube Premium literally because of I hate mid-roll ads that much. I'll try and go sleep whilst watching a YouTube video, and I'll get hit with like some loud ass ad, and it would make me go nuts. So I don't do that on the audience. So yeah, you know, that's one of the things you guys can appreciate, is you shouldn't get hit with mid-roll ads on this channel. Anyways, I know other people do it, but you know, they do what they want to do. It makes their content worse, in my opinion. But we move our left arm and shoulder flared up again. That is not good, Saskia. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments, especially if you watch this back. You know, if 2 hours is quite long for a stream, I don't know if anyone's going to bother, but if there are a lot of people who watch this back after it's done, at some point maybe I'll get someone to do timestamps or something when I go through topics, just to make people's lives a bit easier. But if you've got any questions, go to the community section of the channel. You can post them here. Just post it under the specific post for live chat 13. Just put it there, and I'll get around to answering it during the stream. If there's anything I've got to research, anything intensive, probably won't be able to give you a coherent answer. But if it's something like fairly easy, like is Rishi Sunak short? Is he one of the short kings? I can answer that, because we are approaching the end of the era of the short king, which is sad times. I told you I have to go. But yeah, anyways, I'll catch you guys hopefully next Saturday. I need some outro music to really. Well, once I get the soundboard, gang, the world changes, honestly. But yeah, I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.